In this video, we're going to create a car from the stock Unity car asset, and we're going to drive it around the VR city. I'm just going to disable maximize on play, and I'm going to mute the audio. And now I'm going to import the asset. So come up to assets, come down to import package, and there you'll find vehicles, and go ahead and import vehicles. There's an aircraft in here as well. You can import the aircraft. We're not going to use it, but maybe you want to play around with it. Once this package has finished importing, we'll just instantiate a car quickly in the scene and drive it around. Of course, you'll need to know where to find the car. Let me just close up some of these other folders. And you'll find it here in Standard Assets, under Vehicles, under Car. You'll have to open Vehicles and then open Car. And down here in Prefabs, you'll find the car that we want. And just drag this car into the scene and drop it on the road. And you should be able to press play and drive the car around. And there it goes. But of course we want the camera to be following the car. We don't want the camera to be floating out here over the ocean. In order to do that, we can use a smooth follow script, which comes with Unity. Just select the main camera and come up to Component Scripts. And it's right here under the utility. You'll find down here a smooth follow script. And that applies the smooth follow to the camera. You need to set some damping, otherwise the camera won't follow. So any number should be fine. 1 and 1 is what we're going to use. And we can fire up the game now. And what you should notice is the camera will start to follow the car. Not quite yet. We need to actually give it a target. You'll notice there's no target here. So drag the car into the target. And now the camera will start to follow the car. So now as I move the car, you can see the camera is following it. One of the things I like to do is, let me just fire this up again. Once the camera has repositioned, I like to come over to the camera and just copy its position from here. So come here and do a copy component and then stop the game running and come to the camera again and now paste the component values. And that's going to position the camera basically where it is when the first repositioning is done by the smooth follow script. And now we can enable maximize on play and fire up the game and move the car around the VR city. And this is typically what you're going to see in a car game in Unity, where the camera is kind of following behind the car as it drives around. One of the things you'll notice is I do see through the buildings and I can drive my car off the edge of the world and into the abyss. So one of the things it's nice to have is a barrier to prevent that from happening. We can do that pretty quickly just with a series of cubes. Let's create a new empty game object and we'll just call it barrier. And inside this barrier we can put some cubes. So 3D object cube, drag this cube into the barrier and just resize and reposition this cube. So for scale we'll go with 203 and we'll position it at -93. So let me just frame on it here. And you can see it's lined up pretty much along the edge of this road. And let's just duplicate that cube. And again, we're going to want another one over here. We don't want to be able to drive off the beach. So something like maybe 55. And we'll create one more, another cube. Put that in here. And this one we'll size to 200, but on the other axis. So this one is 200 on X, so this one will be 200 on Z. And we can position it as well. Just move it over here on the edge of the seawall. Kind of round these numbers out. -27 and 76. I guess that's fine. Let me just spin around here. Good enough. Maybe move it in a bit more. Move it into 73. And make it 3 in height as well, so that it goes all the way down to the sand. And make a duplicate of this. And move it over here to the other side. And line it up with the road. And then just kind of round this out to -74. So that gives us a barrier. And now we can drive around the city. And in theory, we won't fall off the edge of the world. No, I've got this up too high. This needs to be down lower. Whoops. I must have set the position instead of the size. So let's look at these. Yeah, okay. Oh, that's why the barrier should be at 0. Actually, the whole thing probably should have been at 0, 0, 0. So let me just drag these out quickly and position this to 0, 0, 0. Just put it at the origin and then put them back in. And then the other thing we can do is turn off the mesh renderers. And now we can drive around the city. And it looks normal, but we won't be able to drive off the edge of the city anymore. We'll get stopped by that barrier. All right, one other thing quickly before we move on. If we look at the car here in the model, and we just open this up, I'm just double clicking it and it'll open up automatically in my 3D modeling tool. I just want to show you that if I pull the interior of the car out, you notice it has a chassis, but it doesn't have seats and steering wheels and all the rest of that. And if you look inside the interior, you can see that they're not there. So for a VR game, when we have our character sitting in the car, our character is going to be able to move their head and look around inside the car. And we really need a vehicle that has an interior. So what we're going to do in the next video is replace the chassis of this car, but not the logic of this car, with another car that does have an interior. So I'm going to end this video here, and we'll pick up doing that in the next video.